Okay, in this video, I'd like to show everyone something called Q.A.M. math. And it's a theory proposed by a man named Richard Lighthouse. And this comes from a Project Camelot video with Carrie Cassidy. So basically what he's talking about is the same thing that I'm talking about with Ed Leedskalnin's flywheel at Coral Castle and how it's expanding magnetically and then collapsing to the dielectric 0 point. And that's how the whole universe is working. It's working that same way from the macro to the micro. So let's get started in this video. Okay, Richard Lighthouse says that our universe blinks on and off a little over 1 trillion times per second. He says when the matter universe blinks on, the antimatter universe blinks off. It's like a sine wave. So it's going on and off, on and off, on and off. The 1024 Q.A.M. is Quadrature Amplitude Modulation. The same math that is used in Wi-Fi. Q.A.M. math is what is used to transfer a signal between a computer and a router. The same math is being used to produce our universe at 1 trillion times per second, or 1 trillion cycles per second. E equals mc squared, he says, is energy, consciousness, and matter all in one. 1024 Q.A.M. math fits the math gap that the physicists couldn't figure out in the existing model. 1024 says that there's 4 particles, then a math gap. 4 particles, then a math gap. He says this is a simple theory. He says there's no addition, no subtraction or division. There's no math. It's a pattern. 1.039 kilohertz is the 1024 Q.A.M. frequency. It has harmonics in it. The first harmonic is 2.078 terahertz. Each harmonic allows us to do things that we couldn't do before. Time travel, travel faster than light, travel between dimensions. As the sine wave travels, the universe expands and collapses over 1 trillion times per second. As it approaches the neutral line, all forces become zero. No mass, no distance, no time. The weight of the entire universe is collapsed at 1 trillion times per second to a single point. In that time, all consciousness, all memory, everything that we think of in the universe is expressed as a frequency and a vibration at a single point. The physicists have been trying to expand the number of dimensions, but are going in the opposite directions. He's saying 0 dimensions, single point. He says solves the equation, 0 equals 0. Time and distance are illusions, and they exist for small fractions of a second and then return to a single point. Then the antimatter universe kicks on. Physical bodies literally only exist half the time. We can't perceive it because it happens so fast. Just like a TV is playing at 30 frames a second, your eye cameras can only pick up a speed that's so fast and perceive it. So what it is that the energy exists within the electrical universe, and the matter is formed within a physical universe that blinks on and off. That's what he's saying. He says the energy and the fundamental forces are analog, and that the matter is digital or blinking 1 or 0 on or off, binary. He says mass is just a property of matter and is a dimension. Time is not a dimension, it's an illusion. All time is simultaneous. Okay, he's right. All time is simultaneous, because that's how you can time travel and go backwards or forwards in time, because electricity always exists in counter space and space simultaneously. So that allows for time travel to happen. So what he says mass is the 4th dimension, X, Y, and Z in mass. Mass is similar to the dream universe. In the dream universe, it's consisted of massless particles, but everything's really fields. The dream universe consists of 3 dimensions, and the mass particles are massless. So there they go with their particle nonsense. He's got a book, The Dream Universe, and here he shows the zero or the dream plane, which would be the 0 point of counter space or the dielectric. He says that the x-axis is the neutral point and the sine wave right before it hits zero, everything becomes massless. You could use a light beam to bring the field to a light speed because it has no mass. Very important. You would need a really fast clock to time the window. An atomic clock is 10 to 12 billion cycles per second, and it's too slow. So you would need a gamma ray clock because it's fast enough. Phil Corso said in The Day After Roswell that they couldn't figure out the propulsion system, but it had something to do with blinking. Its frequency was so fast that it didn't have a signal analyzer to analyze it. This is important because the man that come up with the gamma ray detector back in the early 1980s, his name is Joel Parr, was the guy who was doing all the pyramid experiments in Giza for the United States government and working for them. So he probably is the one that came up with the clock. Because what I compare it to is like this. If you're jumping rope, one person has one end of the rope, another person has the other end of the rope, and you want to jump into the rope. But you have to time it just perfectly, or else you're going to get hit by the rope when you want to jump in. So your timing has to be super precise. So that's how these craft and these entities are jumping in and out of space and counter space. Their timing is so precise and accurate that they can hit the 0 point without getting hit by the rope. They got the right frequency. They know the rhythm to jump into so that they don't get crushed. So that's the same exact way that my whole wheel and everything is operating. So what he's saying here is that the speed of light is not consistent because E equals mc squared is wrong. Speed of light is increasing at about 3 meters per second every year. The first harmonic is 2.078 terahertz. If you put that frequency to a car or a stone and provide enough electrical energy, or to a spacecraft, then you can jump it into counter space. This is the number. 1.039 trillion times per second. That's how fast the field is expanding into the magnetic and contracting back to the 0 point of the dielectric or counter space. The number is 1.039 trillion times per second. So that's how this whole thing is working. And this is what I'm going to show you here with my wheel real quick as a demonstration. It's warring always space against counter space. The matter versus the non-matter. The physical versus the non-physical. Space represented by the toroid. Counter space is represented by the hourglass or the hyperboloid. And they're always at wars, which is what I'm going to show you. This is how my wheel is driven. This is how all the planets are driven. From the macro to the micro, this is how everything works. It's warring these two fields, the magnetic against the dielectric. And when you pulse them, this is what happens. What Richard Lighthouse is saying is that this whole thing is pulsing over 1 trillion times a second. So, when you pulse the field and get in at the correct spot with the right rhythm, this is what happens. Pulse, pulse, pulse. 1, 0, 1, 0. This is how even the scientists are saying now that it works. See, you just pulse the field. Pink Floyd had it right from the beginning with their album cover Dark Side of the Moon, showing you how light works. Then they had it right with their other album called Pulse, because this is how the whole universe is operating, this pulse. And now we know the number to the pulse. 1.039 0.39 trillion times per second. That's how fast that matter is expanding and collapsing back into antimatter. Or that's how fast that space is collapsing back into counter space. Just like the 1 and the 0, the binary. That's why my discovery, I believe, with the Mayan calendar and the Mayan 0 point, if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. Because I find the 0 point in the Mayan calendar date of 12/21/12. So thanks for watching this video, and like I said, please check out my other videos. Have a good day.